Welcome back, I'm Molly, and this is the final episode in our Tennessee inherited property and probate series where we skip the fluff, ignore home selling cliches, and get straight to what actually puts the money in your bank account. If you've made it through our previous 4 probate videos in this series, then we've covered a lot up until this point. But in this video, we're gonna discuss possibly the most pivotal moment in your inherited house journey. How do you turn that inherited property into real cash fast and with your sanity intact? Well, if you've inherited land or real property here in Tennessee, then you need to know this huge difference first. There are 2 types of Tennessee probate: formal, where the court watches everything, and informal, which is way faster. Knowing which one applies to your inherited property is the key to speeding up your sale and avoiding court drama. Don't let your case get stuck in formal probate if it shouldn't be there. In Tennessee, selling an inherited property quickly is not just about speed, it's about the trade-offs that come with every option. Sure, you can chase every last dollar by listing it on the market, but waiting it out with no clear direction will rack up invisible costs that will eat into your profit eventually if you're not already feeling it now. Now, I wear both hats in this business. I'm a licensed Tennessee real estate agent and a direct cash buyer with cash out of my home, and we've been buying properties across Tennessee since 2017, and I've stood on both sides of the closing tables with families, and I've seen them stumble across roadblocks that no one warned them about. So stick with me and I'll show you exactly how and why that happens so you can make the smartest move possible for your inherited property. Let's just be real. The last thing that you need in the middle of probate or dealing with an inherited property is wasted time, money, or headaches, right? We have enough of that. This process is already tough enough, and I'm a huge fan of focusing on the most reliable and proven selling options, the ones with clear outcomes that avoid common pitfalls. So my best honest advice is to table for sale by owner right now and those faceless iBuyer companies unless time and money are really on your side. In my experience working with probate home sellers, I've seen too many families get lured in by what sounds easy, but in reality, they end up surpassing their timeline or losing out on thousands because of lack of understanding the home selling process, most especially when you're going through probate. So what options will actually work in your favor? Well, of course, you can list your house with a local reputable realtor, or you can sell it directly to a local investor for cash, right? Those are your 2 most guaranteed options. And the choice deciding between the 2 shouldn't have to take months of testing the market or agonizing over endless what ifs. It's already hard enough to sell an inherited house, so let me try to cut straight through the fluff and break down what I believe are the 5 key factors that really shape which selling option is going to match your needs and, of course, protect your bottom line. Here are the 5 non-negotiables you should consider. How much time do you have? How much money do you have to put into it? How much debt is owed? What's the condition of the property? And are all decision makers, heirs, co-owners, spouses on the same page? And what's your stress threshold and decision-making bandwidth right now and for the foreseeable future? Of course, there are many nuances that come into play. Maybe you live out of state, maybe the house is sitting vacant, or maybe you're still dealing with tenants, and hopefully not bad tenants, but those situations can add bumps in the road because they're typically easier to work through once you've nailed down the 5 big factors that I just mentioned. So why are these factors so important? Well, let's break it down, starting with timing. How much time do you have? If you need to sell within 30 days or less for any reason, then your best move is to immediately reach out to local cash buyers. Try to have at least 5 reputable investors tour the property and provide you with written, not verbal, cash offers. Even if your property needs repairs, has tenants, or there are unresolved title issues, an experienced local investor, especially one familiar with probate or inheritance laws, can help you navigate the sale so much smoother with minimal surprises. You know, they tend to be more solution focused and solution oriented instead of purchasing your house on emotional inclinations, and they're much less likely to walk away if unexpected issues arise during the title transfer, which can be common during probate. But if time permits and the 30-day window doesn't apply to you, then you have options. But how much time do you have? It's important to be hyper realistic here. Before you take a step further, try to visualize what will be the ideal month for you to have the property sale closed by, like cash in the actual bank, not listed or not under escrow, but actually officially done. This will keep you grounded to how much time you you have to actually do things, whether that's repairing the property so you can gain money from the value, or if that's doing minor updates and replacing the tenants, or giving time for an heir or family member to move out. You need to lay out your end goal date, which will then help you determine the play for the house. Let me give you some realistic timeline expectations. Repairing a house or doing renovations can take you up to 6 months. I know you may not like to hear it, but I've seen it at least 20 times over, and in our own flip, even if you live in the area, heck, even if you live in the property, if the home needs significant repairs, this can take you some serious time, so just plan for it. Between clearing out sentimental items in the home, holding the estate sales or yard sales, and getting it to the point where it's empty enough where you can actually start doing the work may take much longer than what you initially expected. With contractor delays, increase in pricing and materials, and just normal life situations that come up, repairing an inherited home, especially one that's been vacant for a while or potentially the power is off, you can end up with a project that you wish you never started. So let's go over how much debt is owed and how much money do you have to put into it. So let's say you made it through all of that, right? The home is ready to sell. For the most part, you've got it ready to either throw on the market or sell to a cash buyer. Let's say the home only needed a minor TLC or needed a 30-day notice to break the lease and the house was in livable condition and you just needed to do some light touch-ups. Property prepped prior to listing on the market usually takes at least 2 to 4 weeks, especially if you're making updates based on your realtor's suggestions. And then you want to give yourself another week to schedule professional photos. Once you're live, the goal would be to get an offer within the first 14 days, ideally. But statistics have shown, and time again, that your best offer is likely to come within the first 2 weeks, and it's likely to be your first offer. So if you haven't priced your home right on the money, then in today's market, you're likely gonna finally get under contract within 30 to 60 days of listing your property. Now that's just getting under contract. Then give yourself at least another 45 to 60 days for escrow, where the buyer does their inspection, negotiation, request, and of course the title search. And if you're lucky, everything will go smoothly without a hitch and your first buyer will be your last. But lately, what we've seen on our own transaction even with our brand new flip properties, is sometimes that it takes us 2, even 3 buyers to get to the finish line. And with Tennessee being a state that allows you to back out of a contract pretty much scotch-free, as long as you're within your due diligence period, which could leave you months down the line still searching for someone to buy your home. So there was a recent study that said about 25% of all deals fall apart post-inspection or financing. Those are not great numbers. So what is all of this gonna cost you? Well, repairs will be a minimum of $15,000. With costs nowadays, painting an entire house is at least $5,000 unless you're gonna roll up your sleeves and do it yourself. And unless the house is in perfect condition or it was just built yesterday, even then you're still gonna spend at least 10 to 15K in just minor touch up, moving stuff out, paying for storage, full interior for a house. Let's just say if you wanna do the bathrooms, each bathroom is $5,000 easily. So if you had plans, which I hear all of the time with people who inherit a property, that they wanna spend, let's just say 5 to 10 grand, even less than that, they think they can spend a couple of $1,000s. I want you to be hyper realistic from the beginning because you'll be very surprised how quickly those costs add up. And then we have realtor commissions, which is 5 to 6%. We have staging costs, cleaning costs, photography is at least $2,000 to $2,500. And then you should factor in your monthly carrying costs. That includes your mortgage, insurance, taxes, utilities, and anticipate this to be applicable to your situation for at least up to 6 months until you could get it sold. Now, just so you know, closing costs are 2 to 4% of the purchase price, minus any mortgages, liens, debts, or prorated taxes. So on a $180,000 home sale, your realtor commission is gonna be $10,800. Your property repairs, let's say, are $15,000. You pay $2,500 for staging, cleaning, and photos. Your carrying costs are around $1,000 per month, so around $6,000 for 6 months. And then your closing costs are about $7,200. That comes out to $45,000. Add to that any debts, family members, or liens, or any prorated and any past due property taxes that need to be paid off. And these aren't expenses that are only associated with a probate or inherited sale. These are expenses that every homeowner should be aware of if they want to get the highest value for their house when selling. Now let's just jump back to time and discuss a few other time factors that you should seriously consider. The market fluctuations can have a huge impact on your listing depending on the time of the season. If you decide to list your house to get the highest market value for it, then you should be prepared to manage repairs, coordinated contractors, and the appropriate services like hiring someone on your behalf if you're out of state, like a property manager, maybe a realtor, to work on your behalf and have them coordinate for you. Does someone or some lien holder need to be paid off right away? Do you have an important financial obligation that needs to be paid off immediately? Is there an unfortunate medical issue that needs to be paid off right away? I mean, those are all things that time will play a factor into and how quickly you need to sell the property. So here's when I'll typically recommend that you sell your house the traditional route, and in most cases when it makes the most sense. Your property is in solid shape and you're comfortable with managing updates from either in or out of state. You have the time, typically 6 months or more, to see the entire sales process through. Your market is hot and homes have recently sold within your immediate area. All heirs agree and can handle the uncertainty of market shifts, buyer backouts, and even repairs or possibly tenant management. You can cover repair costs easily and carrying costs up front, and you won't run out of money in the next 3 months. And if all of that checks out, then selling your house on the open market might maximize your sale price and be the best option for you. But if not, these steps and costs we just covered can become truly overwhelming very quickly. Let's cover what the condition of the property is. So I know we touched on this a bit in the cost section of this video, but there are just some properties that are way far too gone that will basically determine that you need to sell it for cash or not. So if the property's been vacant for a while or potentially has a lot of code violations, or in worst case scenarios, the city has condemned it or shut the power off, or maybe it's been vandalized and God forbid someone is hoarding your house. Maybe the home resembles a hoarder home potentially because there's years of stuff piled up from your grandmother living in there. Or if the home that you inherited is part of a town that's not seeing a lot of growth right now and the home prices are significantly low. In Chattanooga, there are a lot of smaller cities and neighborhoods just right outside of Hamilton County that haven't seen a ton of growth in the last 5 to 10 years. And so these homes really take a longer time to sell. But these areas tend to be a little bit more rural, and there are a lot of mobile or manufactured homes in the areas, and that can definitely factor into the home's cost as well. And if the home's repair estimate is higher than the actual value of the property, it just may not make sense to fix anything up at all, but rather just sell it as is. And in severe cases where the house needs to be torn down for land value, your best offer is to just sell it for cash. Now, you can still list the home in this condition, certainly, but it's most likely not going to be an owner-occupant that comes along your way, right? It's probably going to still be an investor who's financially and mentally prepared to handle a home like this and can buy the house fully as is. Here at Cash on My Home, we tend to buy a lot of these homes. They're typically older, they've been lived in for a while, and they carry a lot of history. But if your home still has what we call worth the squeeze, then doing updates to really squeeze out every penny or value can be a good call for you if you have that time factor. Knowing exactly how much it's going to cost you and what you can expect to resell for is crucial. You really should be super critical of your numbers here because it's not fun when you don't sell the house for what you actually anticipate it for. Trust me, I know this firsthand, and it could be highly worth your time ordering an official property appraisal or getting an experienced broker price opinion on what the home would be worth as it is right now, and if you were to put money into the property and repair it. An experienced agent could ideally guide you on what updates to do and what you can expect to turn around and sell the home for. They hopefully know what buyers in this market are currently looking for. We just recently completed 2 flips in the last month. One here was in Ottawa. It was an inherited home, and they just completed probate and they were ready to just sell the house for cash and get it done with. It did need significant repairs and it had been vacant for at least 4 months, but when we got inside the place, it was infested with insects and reeked of an animal odor and had some serious foundational internal issues that needed to be fixed immediately. The home did need a full rehab, and we spent almost close to $75,000 and 75 days fixing up the home before reselling it. So you can actually watch a bit about it here in this video. The other property was a home that had come to us in Rossville, Georgia through a local probate attorney actually. And he heard about our company and that we were legitimate cash buyers in Chattanooga, and he knew that we were closing on homes here, so he reached out to us through our website. Well, we weren't the only cash offer on the table, but we were the most solid, and we worked with several requests on behalf of the seller to sweeten the deal for them. They had had to finalize probate, so it took an additional 60 days from when we first made contact to our offer to get actually approved by the court. But once it did, we closed in other 25 days, and the heirs couldn't have been more happy with the result, honestly. The heirs actually had quite a few family disputes and disagreements between themselves. Unfortunately, between day one and closing day, there were a lot of miscommunications that we had to handle. But thankfully, with our experience and ability to be the intermediary between the family members, we were able to resolve things and come to a solution. And if the home you inherit is what we called in livable or move-in condition or rentable condition, sometimes just listing it as is at a competitive price is a strong strategy. Now, most people love homes with good cultures, the one that have good bones, and their main concern lies whether the home is financeable by a bank. So what makes a home not qualify for traditional financing? Well, according to Fannie Mae, the roof needs to be in good condition, the foundation and plumbing and electrical need to be in good condition, there should be no termites, and there are similar requirements that need to be met for conventional loans as well, even if they're not government-based. But if it fits all of that criteria, then it may just need some cosmetic updates. And I've seen plenty of homeowners that have older, outdated houses just listed as is, only to find a first-time home buyer who has a smaller budget and is willing to take a chance on their home, and they're looking to update it as they go along and grow their family. Now, often those buyers will love your home the most, but how do you find out if it's financeable? Consider hiring a professional licensed home inspector here in Tennessee that will provide you an official report. Keep in mind, with an inspection and an appraisal, you are legally required to report that and share that information with the home buyer as long as it's within the last 2 years of doing it. So if all the reports come back in your favor, then my opinion is to work with an agent who will be very realistic with you on price. I'm not a huge fan of the price it high and reduce strategy, which in theory will take you longer because you continue reducing it until you find a buyer. I've seen realtors be fairly aggressive with their strategy, and they will reduce it every week until there's no action and they hit that sweet spot on price. Personally, I prefer to really comp the house well, understand the market we're in and the direct competition right now on the market, as well as previous home sales to dictate that actual price for us. Then once I understand that number, I will strategically reduce it 5 to 7% to increase our odds of visibility, those Zillow saves, those multiple offers. And I have used this strategy time and time again, and I'd always rather have several offers rather than one at some high price the buyer is gonna have second thoughts about down the road or once we're in escrow. And more recently, surprisingly, I work with a lot of home sellers that had their home on the market for 90 days plus, and finally they got to that place where they were just ready to accept a cash offer and sell the house. And I mention this so you can avoid listing it for months yourself, working yourself up into a financial bind, and then eventually deciding that, hey, I'm just gonna sell it outright for cash. So how many people need to sign off, and are there title or heir complications? How does heir approval play into your decision whether to list your inherited house versus selling to a cash buyer? Now, this topic is a topic that we're very familiar with because of the amount of firsthand experiences we've had with situations like this. And when you list the house, everyone needs to agree on a price, right? Which repairs need to be made, which offer to accept, how to negotiate with the buyer, handling the nuances that come along with that 3 to 6 month listing. How does this compare to selling it under 30 days to a cash buyer? Well, when you decide to work with a home buying company like ours or any other in the market, you're not required to conduct any repairs or updates. There are no showings required, and there are no financing contingencies that can delay the actual sale. Experienced cash buyers will coordinate all signatures and paperwork directly with each heir. We've done this ourselves so many times. We're basically each person's personal representative. Sometimes just having someone speak on your behalf instead of you speaking with that one heir or relative you have an issue with is all it takes to get that clear communication coming through the lines. A cash offer can be made and accepted even if the heirs are out of state with a virtual closing through a reputable title company held online with a licensed notary. So technology nowadays has allowed us to do virtual closings. We've even negotiated partial buyouts when other heirs want out of the deal and they're not available to deal with the sale of the property themselves. Now, here are some things that I've seen when it comes to all heirs being on board and affecting the actual sale. If all heirs can't agree on a price, that can lead to an overpriced listing that just sits on the market, and you're stuck negotiating a buyout or dragging things through court, which can determine any buyer right away and allow them to back out entirely if you're not careful. So when heirs are out of state or even missing, documents can get significantly delayed. Even when signatures aren't meeting deadlines, this can hold up the closing. The unique thing about experienced cash home buyers is that they can act almost as a private investigator and handle tracking down heirs. We've done it before, and we've also sent out mobile notaries or online closings almost anywhere in the world and in different countries. If there's hostility or no communication between heirs, realtors often have a hard time moving forward with potential buyers where there isn't a consensus. But some buyers can act as a neutral third party to mediate that solution, cash buyers like ourselves. So delays in agreements may lead to violate court timelines or trigger compliance issues and make probate all the more complex. In worst cases, this could even further court involvement and may force a sale at the auction, which is usually below traditional market value. A traditional listing requires heir cooperation every step of the way, even if one heir holds out, whether due to greed, grief, or just being unresponsive. The whole deal can just literally collapse in front of your eyes. I've seen listings sit for 6 to 12 months waiting for a sibling to sign. Working with a cash buyer can simplify this because they can work and plea with each heir directly, not requiring you to communicate with each other. We can coordinate all of the paperwork statewide, and we can make it easier for everyone to make a decision and hopefully say yes. Let's talk about stress threshold and decision-making bandwidth. So cash buyer versus listing the house. This is one of the most overlooked but most important factors when deciding how to sell an inherited property in Tennessee. Because the truth is, selling a house isn't just that financial decision. It is going to be an emotional and mental load, most especially when there's grief involved, there's family pressure, and court paperwork or repairs are needed on the house. So let's take a look at what really changes on how much bandwidth you have. So let's break it down: cash buyer versus traditional listing, stress and mental load breakdown. So traditional listing, you'll need to do prep work, so you're in charge of cleaning, clearing out belongings, fixing damage, staging, possibly hiring a contractor. With a cash buyer, you can sell it as is. There's no cleanings, no prep, no repairs, and no showings. With a traditional listing, you're going to be fielding dozens of calls, showing feedback, contractor estimates, buyer negotiations. With a cash offer, it's one decision. You either accept or don't accept the offer. The cash buyer will handle the rest. Let's talk about timelines. With a traditional listing, it'll be at least 3 to 6 months, often longer if it requires repairs or buyers back out. With a cash offer, you can have your property sold within 7 to 30 days with a set closing date once you say yes to that cash offer. With a traditional listing, you must coordinate with attorneys, buyers, and agents around probate timelines all yourself. And where you're dealing with a cash buyer, if they're experienced like ourselves and they're experienced in probate, then we can move around probate court approvals and probate court timelines. Regarding family dynamics, if you have more time, then you have more opportunities for drama, disagreement, or someone changing their mind. But fast decisions often can prevent future conflict. So if you just want to sell it for cash, that often relieves you guys from discussing it for the next 6 months to a year. And with the traditional route, there is a risk of the deal falling through. About 20 to 25% of traditional deals collapse after inspection or financing issues. But with the cash offer, there's absolutely no appraisals, no financing, and no buyer cold feet. With a traditional listing and you're holding onto the property until it sells, you'll need to pay insurance, taxes, lawn care, utilities, cleaning, and maybe the mortgage for months. But with a cash offer, your ongoing expenses will cease, and buyers often cover these costs post-agreement or close fast enough to minimize them. Now let's talk about mental energy. When you're listing on the market, you're gonna be at least making, I would say, 50 plus small micro decisions over the coming months. But when you're selling it to a cash offer, you make 1 to 2 big decisions, and we would bring the closing literally to you. With a traditional listing and selling your house on the market, you are gonna have to deal with the back and forth between the attorneys, the agents, and the title companies. You're gonna be that middle person. But when you work with a cash offer or a cash buyer, we coordinate directly with probate attorneys and title companies ourselves, giving you that peace of mind. With a traditional listing, you should account for uncertainty, delays, and potential inspection worries or requests for repairs. But with a cash offer, you get a guaranteed closing date and you can walk away clean with no strings attached. Now ask yourself this: do I have the time? Do I have the energy? Or do I have the emotional bandwidth to manage a complicated sale? Or do I just want this chapter finally closed? Well, we helped a family in Knoxville whose mother unfortunately unexpectedly passed away, and the house that she lived in needed quite a bit of work. The kids were overwhelmed with the funeral costs and siblings flying in and out of town. They tried to list it, but between showings and delays, financing issues, and the contractor bids that they were dealing with, it was utter chaos. We came in after they called us a couple of months later, and we handled everything through their probate attorney, and we were able to close within 19 days. Their only regret, they said, was not calling us sooner. And if you've got plenty of time, if you enjoy managing projects, if you're not in a rush, then listing it could honestly be a good fit. You'll certainly get the most for your money if the home's in good condition. But if your plate is already full with life, family, or even grief, a cash offer isn't just about money. It's about mental clarity and the peace of mind to move forward. Only you know what's right for you, and when you know, you'll know. And that wraps up our 5-part series on selling inherited property here in Tennessee. Whether you're knee-deep in probate, trying to make sense of the legal mess, or you're just deciding between a cash offer and listing the home, now you've got the full playbook. If this series helped you at all, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because we will be sharing videos like this every single week with you. And I will personally reply to any comments that you have regarding probate or inheritance in Tennessee. And if you're looking to sell an inherited house fast or land here in Chattanooga, Knoxville, even North Georgia, or anywhere in Tennessee, give us a call. We have helped hundreds of families through this exact situation. We would love to talk to you with no pressure. We look forward to seeing you on the next video.